Oh, you want to just do it?
Sure.
I think it's your turn, isn't it?
I think so.
Yeah, okay. Or maybe we should do it together for 1 year.
Can we try and sync up? Oh, that might be really annoying. I'm willing to try it.
Why not? There's no point in not. We can absolutely not use it. Or it can be the intro for the episode.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. This is going to be the dumbest thing we've done so far.
I love that you're so excited about that.
I'm really excited.
How can we
about
do
it.
something really over the top stupid on this 1 year mark?
Okay, you ready? Hello.
Hello.
And welcome to Middleish, the podcast about moderation in all things.
I am
Michael Gray.
Aaron Green. I think that actually worked that time. Oh my gosh. Welcome to the Dog and Pony Show.
Yeah.
I'll be the pony. I don't know.
Wait, why am I the dog?
Dogs are cute, Michael. It's all right.
I'm not sure that's how you meant that. I think you're trying to save some face right now, Aaron.
Oh, as much as I would like to say that we have been celebrating our 1 year episode with some Bloody Marys or something, we really haven't. We're just being silly.
Yeah, we're just doing dumb stuff, like trying to do the intro at the same time. This is how Aaron and I have fun.
Yeah. What's your exciting morning like, everyone?
Yeah, are you doing anything in sync with anybody else out there, you guys?
I know. Okay. Let's keep this PG. Well,
whoa. Yeah, so this is episode 52, which means 1 year. And as Aaron has just so bluntly announced, season 2 of Middleish is going to be after dark. It's going to get real adult real quick.
there's a lot of middle-ish things that we could go into in that realm.
Yes, there are.
Yeah.
So
Next up,
episode
safe words.
Okay, so pop quiz. Can you tell me Jan and Michael's safe word?
Oh, no, I can't. What is
Foliage. Foliage. Yeah. And Michael says, although last time I used it, Jan pretended she didn't hear me.
I do remember that quote. Oh, The Office. Man, I miss that show. I really looked forward to my trainer time over the last, year watching The Office. And thank you. That is one of the nice gifts of this whole Middleish endeavor that we've been on together is if not for this podcast and just conversations with you and hearing those punchlines from The Office all the time, I wouldn't have gone through all the episodes. And
you are welcome. That is a fun gift to share.
Become a groupie. Yeah.
When someone really falls in love with that show, it makes me really happy because I feel like their life is going to be better for it. And I 100% mean that. That is not being grandiose at all, in my opinion.
Well, and now I know why people watch it over and over, because there's so many punchlines and different, pop culture references. And like, I see memes now where, Jim is pointing to a whiteboard and then he just looks like deadpan at the camera and memes about the pandemic, about politics, about masks, about whatever. And it's funny.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I've watched that show through so many times, like a bunch of times. I bet I've seen every season at least 5 or 6 times. Some of them like, I don't know, 12 or 13 times.
That's
probably.
why details like the safe word between.
But that's
Michael
the thing
and Jam.
about it is I'll watch it for like the 12th time and I'm like, oh, I never caught that joke. Or I heard him say that, but I didn't realize why, like the joke that was in there, it's just, it's such a well-written show. It's the best.
Good stuff. I'm now watching Schitt's Creek.
Oh my gosh, that's a great show too.
It's so funny.
It took me a little bit to get into it.
Yeah.
At first I was kind of annoyed.
Development and the storyline is very nuanced too, because yeah, it's very superficial, and there's
Hmm.
just the way the characters do these things. But then if you really start looking at the trajectory of this show, it's very endearing. And there's a
Hmm.
lot of kind of heartwarming
Hmm.
ways that this family, this completely displaced family, starts integrating themselves into this small town. And
Yeah.
I have to laugh because I'm from a very small town.
Hmm.
I'm from a town of like 500 people, and my graduating class had 15 people in it. And some of the small town conversations and references in there, I'm just like, oh my gosh, this like going to the nearby small town that's slightly bigger than your small town, but it's like the place to go. That was Lewiston, Idaho for us. Oh, we're
Yeah.
going to Lewiston. Better wear your nice jeans. We're going to McDonald's for lunch. This is a big deal.
Get on your fancy duds. Yeah, I really enjoyed Schitt's Creek. It was like you said, aside from the dad and the family, everybody else is so over the top and so superficial that it took me a handful of episodes to not kind of be annoyed by it by them. But once I
Mhm.
got into it, I was like, this show is fantastic. It's really, really good.
So everybody knows probably who has watched Schitt's Creek and is listening to this that Daniel Levy
Mhm.
is Eugene Levy's biological son. Did you know
Mhm.
that Twyla, the woman who plays Twyla, is their daughter, is Eugene Levy's daughter? She and
I
Twyla
think
and
I did
David
know that.
are
Yeah.
full-blooded siblings.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? And I start kind of comparing. I think their smiles are very similar, but otherwise the resemblance stops
They don't
there,
look
in
much
my
the same.
opinion. I'm like, they don't look very,
She's so
very
great.
similar, but yeah,
She's like such
good
an
characters.
idiot for so much. And then she'll just like drop like this truth on everybody that she's
I
just been
know.
like back there observing. And you're like,
And she's so
whoa.
innocent and
Hmm.
lighthearted about everything.
Hmm.
It's wonderful.
Yeah, it's a fun show.
Yeah. So 1 year, I
One
have gotten
year.
through the office. What other milestones have we met? We started an Instagram
Hmm.
page, which is good.
Yeah, I don't know. Just, I mean, just the fact that we've we've released an episode every freaking week for a year.
Hmm.
I am like crazy proud about. Like that's has been no small task, and it's been tricky for us to do at times because I mean, we live 2,000 miles away. You know, we have very different schedules and working around sicknesses and spouses' schedules and, just all kinds of stuff,
Vacations and
doing it during a
power
pandemic.
outages and
Yeah.
home
Winter
improvement
freezes.
projects.
Yeah.
Like,
There's just been
it's
like
like,
a lot, but we've really dedicated ourselves to this. I think from the beginning, we've both taken it very seriously about being consistent with releasing things. And I'm just really, to me, that's just a huge thing. Even if we didn't do anything else, I
right.
just think that's, yeah, it's really exciting. I'm really
Yeah.
proud of us for that.
And that was actually one of, so just to back up a second for you listeners that are like, all right, Michael and Aaron, what's the topic today? This is the topic.
This
We
is
are
the
going
topic.
to
How awesome
go
we are.
through, I know, we're just going to talk about ourselves. We're going to kind of go through, the last year and reflect on Middleish, maybe pull out some of our favorite topics, talk about some of the things we've covered. And maybe if you've missed an episode or 10, you could go back and listen to those episodes. And, maybe we'll pique your interest on some of the things. But of course, we want to keep it fun and casual and all the things that you love about Middleish.
About Middleish.
So when you talked about consistency, so I wrote down my three, I was thinking this morning, what are like my top three? Because it's always hard to say, what did you love most about the year? Or what was your highlight of the year? It's always hard for me to pick just one thing.
Hmm.
So I wrote down kind of my top three highlights, and consistency was number one. Just that commitment to every week, we're going to make it happen. And like you said, through vacations and all of these different just life occurrences, to me, it really reflects what we are encouraging our audience to do
Hmm.
with their lifestyle, with their health, with fitness, with nutrition, is finding that consistency no matter what it looks like. And there were several times when it was not perfect. Like
Hmm.
we, for whatever reason, I mean, we had extra editing hiccups. We had schedule conflicts where we would record in the evening or early in the
Hmm.
morning or something like that. And I think about our listeners who are trying so hard to implement some kind of lifestyle change or be consistent with exercise or be consistent with, some kind of nutritional strategy. And I am 100% sure that our listeners can relate to that whole
Yeah.
up and down. And this isn't perfect. This isn't what I set out to do. Oh my gosh, I just kind of want to skip it this week or today because there's so much going on in my life. But part of what we talk about is that sustainability, and how can you still do the thing and keep that consistency going, but also show yourself grace along the way and not aim for perfection,
Right.
and not, pick apart all of the things that you could be doing better or how you had pictured this playing out differently. So
Right.
don't sweat the small stuff.
Right. And I think, I mean, I guess to toot our own horn a little bit, one thing I like about us and I like about doing this with you is I feel like we really embody what we're talking about. I feel like we live that. We don't live in extremes. We live
Mhm.
in that sort of moderation and that middle-ish space where, we do bend and flex, and we push when we can, and we pull back when we need to. And same thing with this podcast. I think it seems to me that there are a lot of people who will promote those ideas like on Instagram and that kind of stuff, but it doesn't seem like they really live that way.
Mhm.
There's a lot of extremism, but they don't want to live there. They see the benefit in this moderation, but for whatever reason, if they have a lot of viewers or that kind of stuff, they feel the need to always be and working out and always be super lean or always be eating just
Mhm.
vegetables and lean meat. And and I there's some speculation here on my part for sure, but it really seems like there are a lot of people who are preaching these messages but don't really embody them. And so I guess I'm bragging on us, but I feel like we do that. I feel like this is coming from authentic places, and it's really how we view living life. And um, I don't know. I think that adds a real authenticity to what we do, and I like that
Mhm.
about us. That's why I like doing this with you, is because I feel like we're on the same page with that, and we really live what we're preaching about. And it would be easy not to in this industry. you know.
Totally. And I mean, our last episode was on social media. And I think
Mhm.
that is a good point that we made on that last episode. Is a lot of times what you see on social media, and there, especially in the health and fitness and nutrition industry, social media is just like, that's where a lot of people get their information and influence.
Mhm.
And it is this promotion of like, this is how like baller my life is all the time, or this is
Right.
every day is perfect because I started out this way. And there isn't a lot of, realistic representation.
Right.
And I will say, I had a real I didn't say this in the social media episode, so I'll say it here. I had a real low point earlier this spring where I just was like, I mean, bona fide depressed. And
Mhm.
I mean, I'm not naturally a depressed kind of person. I get a little bit of that seasonal affective disorder. And,
Mhm.
I mean, just tell when the weather's crummy or if I'm kind of going through a rough patch. But this was just like, oh my gosh, it sucks. It was like the pandemic through the winter and not being able to connect with people and do the things I would normally do. My work had slowed down. There were a lot of things that were adding to this. And I went for a run with my good friend Sarah, who is a friend of the podcast and listens. And I just like had this total meltdown in front of her. And she's like, oh
Mhm.
my God. She goes,
Mhm.
this is a prime example of why you don't just take things on social media as they're presented, because I tend to, like show my racing or my outdoor adventures or my time with Matt or my cat or my food, things. And I
Mhm.
I just kind of keep my social media pretty neutral. I'm not a big oversharer, and um I wouldn't say that I hide those things about myself. I'm also pretty honest on there, but it just was not. I mean, you have no idea what that
Right.
other person is going through or how that is represented. So just that's a long way of saying that I completely agree with um just the need for more authenticity
Right.
in this, especially in the health and fitness world. And as we have said before, we deal in life change. I mean, a lot of aspects of life. We're not
Mhm.
therapists, but inevitably nutrition and exercise and all of these things are related to other aspects of life. So
Yeah, for sure. I agree. And I would say I hadn't thought about that as a highlight, but I think that consistency is, I'm going to put it on my list, Aaron. I'm still in yours because I
okay,
like that a whole
are you
lot.
writing things down as we go so that you have your homework done and it looks like you completed it on time? Is that what
Feel
we're
like
doing
doing my homework after the fact.
in class?
No, I have a list. I have a list. I'll show
Did you
you.
ever do that when you were
Show
in
you.
school? Did you
There's a bunch of other
you're
stuff on
supposed to
there, but see,
be
look,
supposed to
look,
be grading? Oh
this is
yeah,
my
I see
list right
your
here.
list.
Yeah,
Good
with
job.
questions and that kind of stuff. Yeah,
Where you're supposed to be
I'm not as
grading
dumb
your
as I
paper?
present.
Did you ever do that where you're supposed to be like grading your paper and you're kind of writing in the answers?
I wouldn't know anything about that.
I did that. Full disclosure.
I was not a dedicated student. I'll say that. I was a what do I need to do to get by kind of student.
Uh-huh. What is the minimum amount of work
Yeah.
I need to do?
So that was a highlight for you. What are your other few highlights?
So, okay, so the consistency, and then we
Mhm.
already kind of talked about my third highlight, which I'll skip to, was our ability to have these candid, rich conversations. We've said before that our podcast isn't scripted. We might organize ideas, we might look up some factoids or different ways to kind of make it interesting. But our conversations are very authentic and spontaneous, and we joke about things and we share stories. And I love that we can talk about just about any topic. And I've gotten a lot of compliments from people that listen to our podcast, and they're like, man, I just love how you guys can sit there and chat about things. And the conversation is always interesting and rich, but it doesn't feel kind of scripted like some other podcasts feel. So that
Right.
was another highlight, is that we can just, and I mean, granted, you and I never worked together before this. Like
No.
we knew each other only through our sort of loose social media relationship and
Yeah.
just the limited time that we spent in person together. So
Yeah. Not
it's
very much, and
really,
a long time ago.
yeah, so it's super cool to have that that relationship with a work
Mhm.
partner that you feel like you're on the same wavelength. Of course, we've had our hiccups with communication and
We've
various
had a few.
like things.
I think there have been a few moments where Aaron's wanted to strangle me.
Not really. It's more like, how can I explain this more plainly? Like something's happening with the words that are coming out of my mouth and what he's
Mhm.
receiving.
Mhm.
not, not
Just
jiving.
a couple of times.
And then
But not
my
too much, to be honest. There's
no,
been like two of
no.
those, I think, where it's
Yeah.
just like we just aren't understanding each other at all. And I'm like, what is happening? I don't know. How can I say this differently? But it's been, I mean, in a year or
Yeah.
like 2 days of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's pretty
Pretty good
good.
track record.
Mhm.
And then my third highlight was having Rebecca Rush on the podcast. And I
I
remember
thought that might
what
be on
it,
there.
yeah, I remember what it felt like when she responded, because I mean, I've met Rebecca a few times and she knows who I am, but it's not like we're buddies
We're
or whatever. I
buddies.
can just text her or something. So, I know she's super busy. I know she has a lot on her plate and she rarely says no to an opportunity to, spread the word of her Be Good Foundation, to inspire people to build communities and those connections that we were, especially
Mhm.
last year, we are so desperate to have those,
Yeah.
connections. And for me, training for Rebecca's Private Idaho was a very meaningful experience. And I sort of shared that on our interview with her, why it was so, I didn't really get into the virtual racing scene last year. Like it
Mhm.
wasn't really my thing, but that was the one thing that I was like, man, I'm totally into this. And I felt like part of a community.
Yeah.
So yeah, having her just be like, hell yeah. Like she was totally into coming on the podcast and chatting
Mhm.
with us, which was super cool. So that was a highlight
I
for
remember
me.
getting your text when she said yes. Like when you
Yeah.
texted me, it was just
I'm all
like,
like sweaty palms, like,
oh my
holy shit.
God. She said yes. Like lots of exclamation points. I think lots of capital letters. I knew
Which
it
is
was a
so funny because
very big
she's
thing.
so not intimidating at all. Like she's probably one of the easiest,
Hmm.
quote celebrity guests to have. But anyway,
Yeah,
that was a super cool highlight for me. And yeah, those are my three.
cool. Those are my three too. So we can move on.
Are they? Okay.
Yeah,
So you
yeah.
wrote them down on your paper. So your homework is done.
That's weird. We had the same ones, isn't it?
So weird.
No, I would say I'm going to steal consistency from you because I hadn't thought about that, but that's absolutely one. I think I'm just it's just awesome. I'm just super
Mm-hmm.
happy that we've been that consistent. Um, Another one for me was I guess it would be 2 episodes ago. Um, Getting to share my story of having diabetes and going through that. That was really fun for me. And really, I don't know, I guess it kind of echoes and reinforces this idea that oftentimes really sucky things, really hard things, not that we need to be yay grateful for them, but there's often things we can pull out of that have a lot of positives, and I would give up having diabetes in a heartbeat. Like
Yeah.
I'd be
It's not
if
something
someone
you
could
wish for yourself. Yeah.
nope, and not something I would want to keep if I could get rid of it. But at the same time, I've been able to connect with people in different ways because of it. I've been able to
Mm-hmm.
relate to people who have diabetes, relate to people who have other chronic diseases, and it's sort of like expanded my umbrella of empathy or sympathy. You know what I mean? And just
Mm-hmm.
being able to connect and relate to people. And so to get to do that on this podcast, I've had people message me like, "Hey, I'm a diabetic too," and just conversations we have through Instagram or whatever. That's just been really cool, and so it was really fun to get to do that. And thank you, Aaron, for that idea because yeah, I had a lot of fun doing that.
Yeah. I
And
think it's
then
important to share that with people,
yeah,
the human side, and just show that, you know, you and I talk about all of these different topics and concepts, and maybe for some people seem to have it maybe easy or kind of figured out in the health
mhm,
and diet and fitness realm. And just to show that, man, we all have stories and we all have challenges.
yeah, yeah, for sure. And then third, I don't know. I feel like there could be 20 of these, but third, it was really cool having Spencer Nadolski on the show
Yeah.
because he's such a huge voice. I mean, if you don't sort of run in the nutrition, fitness, health industries, I get if you don't know who he is or aren't super familiar with him. But if you do, he is a huge voice, and his company Renaissance Periodization has a huge voice in this industry. I mean, if there was an influencer, he's one of them.
Yeah.
And
He has
for
283,000 followers on Instagram. I was just
that's a few,
looking that up just to show. And of course, we've talked about the number of followers doesn't necessarily mean
right,
how, credible you are in your
right, right, right.
information, but just to show that he really does have, if you follow him, you'll see very quickly that he's well read in the research.
Yeah.
He practices these things. Yeah.
Yeah, and his company Renaissance Periodization has 568,000 followers. He's a very influential person,
Mm-hmm.
and he's a. I mean, in this industry, he's a celebrity. He just is,
Mm-hmm.
right? And just to have him on and have him be so welcoming and friendly and easy to talk to, and just the fact that
Mm-hmm.
it was like I think I reached out to him. One of my clients connected me with him. Kind of, she
Right.
had a
Commented on
conversation and
something.
comment and brought me into it. And then like he sent me a message was like, "Hey, give me an episode to listen to your podcast. I'm going to go work out in a little bit," like right then. And he messaged me later that day, "Hey, let's do it." And it was like 8 days
I
later, I
know.
think, like the next
Yeah.
week.
Yeah.
I was
We're
like, I'm
like
like, "How about next
scrambling.
week?" He's like, "Yeah, that works." I'm like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. But he was just such a wealth of information. And
Mhm. We should have him on again because
yep.
I mean, especially when we talk about, I'm really curious about heart health. I know he does a ton of research in the blood lipid
Mhm,
area and disease management and prevention.
mhm.
I really would like to dive in a little more scientifically into that stuff and kind
Sure.
of translate some of
Yeah.
the science and what
Yeah.
that means for recommendations for people. But yeah, he's so good too, because he's a, the memeologist. So he has
Mhm.
this great sense of humor, and he kind
Mhm.
of puts out these really funny memes, but he's also a no bullshit kind of guy. Like,
Nope.
let's just get down to the very
Yeah.
baseline of evidence that we have and translate that into meaningful change for people. And it really follows along with the Middleish concept. Like,
Mhm.
I'm not going to tell you to do something that you're not going to do just because that's a recommendation. I'm going to work with you to find out
Right.
where you're at and how we can really shift you into that direction, not like
Yeah.
force you into this cookie cutter, box
Right.
of
Yeah.
recommendations. How can we take a step there?
Right. And he presents this wealth of knowledge in just such easy to understand ways. Like he doesn't talk in a way like, let me make sure I'm very intelligent. He's just very easy to understand. And you know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, he's still
It was a
our
lot of
top.
fun.
He is our his podcast, episode 22 was our top podcast of 2020, our top as far as listenership goes.
Nice. Yeah.
So
Nice.
that's exciting.
So I have a question for you.
Oh,
Has
are we going into the mystery questions now?
I don't know. I figured we can just do whatever we
You just
want.
Yeah, it's our show. We'll do whatever we want.
Do whatever we want. I don't know. I just thought we could bounce around. Do you not want
Go
me to
for
ask a
it.
question?
Ask
Am I allowed
away.
to ask a question right now, Ryan? Please, ma'am, can I ask a question?
I ain't the boss. This is co-ownership.
Okay. All right. So just curious, from when we started, or when we started even thinking and dreaming about this, and before we maybe even had a title, I wish we had some of those titles. That'd be fun to talk about. I can't remember any of them.
Of what we were
Of
gonna name it.
potential, yeah, like things we tossed around. But just even from like back then to now, has Middleish developed differently than you thought it might? Has it become something different than you thought it would, or is this kind of on par with where you thought it would go?
Wow.
It's a question, huh?
I know that's a question. I To be honest, I didn't have much of a vision for what this would be like,
Yeah.
because it was just so off the cuff. Maybe we could do a podcast. Okay, let's do a podcast. Almost like a joke, or like kind of throwing that out there to test the waters. And then it just started developing.
Mhm.
And I think my my vision for it was very similar to what we're doing in terms of the I didn't think we would have the consistency we have. So I think
Right.
that's why I'm really stoked on that. Is
Hmm.
And that was something that my husband Matt was hugely supportive of. Was You have to release, if you are consistent and your listeners know when you're going to release your podcast, and you do it every week, or you do it once a month, or you do it
Yeah.
twice a week, or whatever you decide to do, just make it consistent, because that's what helps people follow
Hmm.
and rely on your information and your podcast. I um i think in terms of the way we organize it, and the way the structure of the podcast, like, we couldn't just start with a random bullshitty intro like, hey, what's the weather like, or like, what's the puppy update, or whatever is
Right.
happening.
I think
And then we
people would
get
be
into our
shocked
topic.
at how little like preparation there is.
Like, Michael and I might text each other 15 minutes before we get on, or we might not. And we might just talk about it for 5 minutes before we start recording. It
Yeah.
really is like off the cuff. But then the meaning in the mundane, I think that was something
Hmm.
we wanted something every week. And we talked about this. There is an episode about the meaning in the mundane that you can go back and listen to.
I'll
We
look it
can
up while you
find
talk.
that one, which number it is. But that was something that we wanted to have, something every week that was, a consistent piece of every episode. Um,
Episode
that brought
42.
us
Sorry.
42. Okay.
42. Yeah.
Yeah. So I would say I didn't have much of a vision, first of all. And it really does fall with the original, just skeletal structure that we had of the
Hmm.
podcast, and that very casual kind of, let's just do this and throw it together.
Yeah.
Um, I think I didn't realize I would love it as much as I do, and that I
Mm-hmm.
would have this broader vision, like this long term, oh my gosh, this could be really cool. What if we did speaking gigs, or what if
Mm-hmm.
we did merch, or what if we started having, guests on, like some of the big guests that we talked about, those kinds of things I think were somewhat surprising to me. And I said this in I think maybe the social media episode, one of the episodes, I said, I'm really surprised how many people I know personally actually listen to the podcast, because I think sometimes they're your toughest audience, those
Mm-hmm.
people that know you well enough. And so, like you said, that you're not the expert
Yeah, that
because
problem
you're
with
just
like
a friend.
proximity, they know you too well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that has been kind of surprising to me, the
Yeah.
number of people that listen to my podcast. And I just had another message this week. I'm going to start doing some work with a local mountain bike team. And one of the coaches, whom I've never met, was like, I listen to your podcast. It's so good. I love the banter that you guys have, and
Mm-hmm.
that like relaxed conversation. It's so easy to listen to. And I'm just like, whoa, another person that, finds what we do
Yeah.
meaningful. So it's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Nice. Do you want me
Do
to
you
answer
have,
that?
yeah, I do want you to answer that.
I can. Same thing as you. Yeah.
This is going to be
No.
really interesting. Listen, everyone, really interesting.
I think in some ways like you said, I didn't have a lot of vision because I think it happened pretty quick.
Hmm.
From when we first started talking about things to when we were like, holy crap, we're actually doing this. It wasn't that
Yeah.
long, considering we both had full-time jobs doing other things. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like it happened relatively quick, and I feel like I didn't have a lot of time to think about what it could be. Um, I mean, we were just like kind of hammering out details, like how do we launch this? What websites host podcasts? Okay, we got to have a name. We should probably have a logo, like just that kind of detail stuff. And then we were recording, and I think I did want. Yeah, I don't think I had much of a vision just because I hadn't thought that far out. But I knew
Hmm.
I wanted it to feel authentic and genuine. And I wanted to be able to talk about whatever we wanted to talk about. And I feel like we were doing that, you know.
Hmm.
Um, and so that's exciting. I feel like we've really kept authenticity, and um, I think part of that honestly is our, I guess, lack of preparation. It's just this is what we think, and it hasn't been refined or sifted through, or oh, maybe if I say that, let me write this sentence so I say it exactly right. It's us, and it's our genuine thoughts and feelings on things. And um, I guess if I had a vision, it was that, and that's what we're doing still. So that's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just digging back through my emails to see if I could find some of the
Oh, the original.
thoughts. Oh, what
Boy,
was the
yeah.
one? Oh, the Mod Pod.
The Mod
We wanted
Pod.
to call this the Mod
Hmm.
Pod, as in the moderation podcast, the Mod
That's
Pod.
right.
And we were both so excited about
Hmm.
that. And we found out there was a Mod Pod by two optometrists or some shit.
Yeah, with like 6 viewers in a year or something. We're like, really? We have to give it up to this?
I know, we were so bummed.
That's
I
right. I
do
forgot
have
about that. It
I
was
do have
optometrists.
I do have a list of the different, I mean, this was
Do you?
back in, yeah, May 26th of, gosh, it's almost exactly a year ago. May
2020.
26th of 2020, I just threw out all of these different
Oh, that's funny.
names, and I included some. You came up with Middleish. That was yours, but um, you know, all of it had to do with middle. It had to do with mind, body. Operation Moderation was put in there.
Hmm.
Um, Life Midway, Harmony and Health, Middleish, all of these different. It's funny now because I can't picture it being called something else. Like it's just
Right.
Middleish, and it
Yeah,
rolls off the tongue easily. And
it
I
absolutely
actually had
does.
a comment on our Instagram. Somebody private messaged us and was like, Middleish, like the middle path of Buddha. I really like it. Like he got that just out of the title. And I was like,
Mm,
oh, super cool. So
Nice.
Anyway.
Yeah. I remember stressing over the name. Like I had
I
conversations with a
know.
bunch of friends and some family, like, okay, hey, what do you guys think about this? How do these hit with you? Because maybe I stress too much, but I do feel like that's your first kind of like introduction to people. And if it
Mhm.
hits wrong, eh, I mean, I've been turned off by names before, like a name of a movie or a name of a band. Like, what? Man, I couldn't
Yeah,
listen to that, you know. But I remember stressing a lot about that. And
we
even with
were.
Middleish, I remember being like, I don't know. I like it, but I'm not sure if it's right. It feels
Me
100% right now.
Oh, it does. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
here's something else that's funny for the meaning and the mundane before we came up with that
Uh-huh.
label. Uh this was our hook. Like this was what we were trying to figure out. Your two contributions are another awesome adage and cage-free chicken nuggets of wisdom.
See,
Uh,
guys, I've been stupid the whole time.
chicken
Cage free
nuggets of
chicken
wisdom.
nuggets of wisdom.
So,
Hey, you know what? I think we should add that to the rotation.
well, I didn't I didn't have anything to contribute to this conversation because I had just said like a quote of the week, but then I was like, it has to be something more fun than just quote of the week. And so we were trying to figure out a way to make
I
it more
forgot
fun.
about
And
that. That's funny.
man, we found the jingle on Pond 5.
Mm-hmm.
We tested on Skype and Zoom
Mm-hmm.
just to see
That's
which one
right.
worked. Matt helped us figure out mic and ring light equipment.
Yeah. It
You
happened
do
quick.
Yeah, you do all of the edits through Anchor and YouTube
Mm-hmm.
using iMovie, I
iMovie.
think, and
Yeah.
whatever. So,
We're super
man,
low
it
tech.
just I know, like just so y'all are getting a little background information of how this came to be, it really was like, let's just figure it out. And I mean, I think I watched several YouTube videos on how people started podcasts and what kinds
Mm-hmm.
of things they used, and that's how we found Anchor. And um, yeah, wow. Okay. You want to hear one of my questions, my mystery questions?
Yeah.
Top 3 favorite episodes.
Okay. There's a huge ass spider crawling across my floor right now.
Oh, you look pretty preoccupied there.
Like,
You want to, oh, wow. Like the size of a quarter, 50-cent
no,
piece?
no, like tennis ball. It's
No,
big.
you have to show on
Yeah.
your camera because I don't believe you.
You want me to do
Take a
that?
picture of it and text it to me.
Okay. Why don't you talk about year 3? I'm going to take care of this situation real quick. See, there is nothing scripted here in Middleish. Okay. So you
Go
talk
for it.
about
Yeah,
year
I
3.
can talk.
I will be back in just a second.
All right. my, my top 3 favorite episodes. This is going to be hilarious if I have to narrate this for you guys, what I'm seeing on Zoom right now. So I think one of my favorites that I think was really funny for us to do was the celebrity hacks. Oh man, what episode was that? We had been talking about how annoying it was that celebrities have such a pull on the health and fitness industry and they are not experts in the health and fitness industry. And so a lot of it is comical for us, but it's also really frustrating because celebrities have such influence over people. So we went through, I'm just looking back on our episode so I can oh, it was episode 34. So if you haven't listened to that, Celebrity Hacks Decoded was one we talked about. And I have one of my favorite quotes from that episode. But since Michael isn't listening, he's scampering across the camera. Apparently, he took care of that spider. And another of my favorite ones, man, I think food and fitness evangelism was another one. It kind of goes along with that celebrity hacks. I actually really like talking about food. And so either of the salad or veggie episodes are two of my faves. Michael's back. How
Hi.
did that go?
Got adrenaline running through my body right now.
You don't have to go wash your hands after dealing with a spider like Matt does.
Oh, I didn't touch it.
He has to wash his hands.
I would prefer to
even if
wash
he
my
doesn't
hands,
touch
but
it.
I'm
Yeah.
hurrying back. All right, I'm going to send you this picture right now. It may not look as big as it really was. Oh, because I hate spiders. They're like one of my least favorite things.
I don't like spiders either, but I will say that uh, since my garden is in and we have more spiders kind of in the house just randomly because it's spring,
Mm-hmm.
I've re-implemented my catch and release policy. So
I
I've
know.
caught and released 4 spiders from my house in the last couple of weeks out into my garden. I'm just really trying hard to,
I should. I feel bad every time I kill one because I know they're
I
good,
know,
but
but they are
I hate them so
terrifying.
much. All right, did you get that picture that come through yet?
I'm looking. Oh yeah. Oh, oh.
Yeah, bigger than it looks, but yeah.
I think it has babies on its abdomen.
Well, I thought maybe, but they didn't go everywhere. Sometimes, when you squish them,
Usually they'll explode. Yeah.
well, it was on
It
my
looks like
black.
there's babies for sure on
Looks
that
like it was on
abdomen.
my black mat. So hopefully they're not scattering everywhere right now.
Matt and I, this reminds me of a story. Matt and I came home one night. I
Oh yeah,
now
it
never
does.
forget his,
Oh,
yeah. Do you want to go
mm,
check that spot again? Make sure there's
yeah, I really
nothing.
do. Yeah, yeah.
I'm so sorry, you guys. This was unplanned. Michael's really disturbed. This might be one of my favorite episodes, actually, because it's oh, now I've got the heebie-jeebies thinking of that spider picture he sent me. Another one, man, I've gone through more than 3 of my favorites. It's hard to pick just 3, I guess. Um, we've gotten a lot of interest in the everybody wants to lose weight episode. And that one to me is sort of the core. Oh, they're everywhere. Okay. Baby spiders are everywhere on Michael's end. Everybody wants to lose weight episode to me is kind of the core of how my philosophy has changed as a dietitian because dietitians are basically um you know our training is in weight management, calorie counting, macro counting, all that stuff. And when I shifted from focusing on weight loss and weight management into a realm of let's actually shift, not focus on the numbers on the scale, but shift into behaviors and patterns and choices and food relationship and all of these less tangible things, they're less concrete. And so it's really hard to do that work with clients. But I have found it far more fulfilling and meaningful as a practitioner. So the episode, that's episode 9, by the way, if you want to listen to that, everybody wants to lose weight. Just we talk about how our society is geared toward weight loss, how we get so fixated on it that almost every client that comes to Michael and I wants to lose weight. And it's almost like they expect that that's the right answer that we want to hear. When we say, why are you coming to us? People generally think, well, I'm coming to a dietitian because I want to lose weight. And that's what you're expecting to hear. And I'm kind of baffled by that because I'm like, well, there's other things you really want, probably more than losing weight. So let's dig into those things. How do you want to feel? Um, what kinds of behaviors do you want to adopt? How do you want to set things up for your kids and your family? So those are some of my favorites. And Michael is still running back and forth around the camera. I'm pretty sure there was like an explosion of baby spiders on his floor. So I apologize that you guys have to listen to me ramble on for this whole period, but he should be back on here pretty soon.
Sorry about that.
How was that?
There were like 30 of them. No joke. Just
Well,
like
you showed me that you sent me the picture. It's pretty obvious that there's a mass of babies on
I didn't
mama's
look at the
abdomen.
picture. I was looking at the spider.
Well, maybe it's Matt calls it my spidey sense. I notice those things straight off. Like that's, yeah. All right. Well,
Yeah, I think I got them all. But they're all running different directions. Like all of them. I'm like
I
a
was
paper towel. I'm like, ah.
I was going to tell you about this time when Matt and I came home on 4th of July. We got in our kitchen and there was this just there were baby spiders everywhere on our kitchen ceiling. Everywhere. And we were finding them for literally like 2 weeks after. Just, oh, there's
Jeez.
another one. Yeah. I mean, they're babies, so they're cute just like every baby, right?
Oh yeah, baby spiders are adorable. I'd love to just have them
So,
all over in my
I'm
office. Oh wait,
I'm not
I did.
Oh wait, you have a whole colony of them.
So what's
I
happened
am
on the
not
show?
going to, yeah, I'm not going to bore our listeners with having to rehear all of my favorite episodes,
Right.
but um I did say that some of the veggie and salad episodes, like just that ability to talk about, I mean, I love
Hmm.
talking about food and that ability to kind of, sort of ramble on about something
Hmm.
that is seemingly really boring and to make it interesting. And some people really
Hmm.
have responded well to those episodes.
Yeah.
Um, I really liked the celebrity hacks decoded
Hmm.
and the food evangelism one. Those were both a couple of my favorites that I talked about. And then our episode 9, where we talked about, oh my gosh, I just lost it, you guys. What did I say? Everybody wants to lose weight
That was a good
because
one.
it was like at the core of kind of my shift in philosophy with counseling people. And so those were my 3,
Right.
not to make everybody relive that, but what about you?
The one where I
And
killed
that's more than 3, by the
spiders
way.
live on the air.
I said this might be one of my favorite episodes because
Did you hear me at all? I was trying to be quiet, but
I just saw you tiptoeing back and forth, scampering across the camera, and I'm like, oh, that poor man, he's pretty freaked out.
oh yeah, now I'm just like feeling things on me,
I know. And now you're got the creepy crawlies.
because I'm sure I didn't get them all. I got the ones I
And
could see, but like they were under the mat
well,
and going on the baseboard, and
as soon as they grow up, you'll see them and you'll
got some deep cleaning to do today. So
get out the vacuum and
yeah. Okay, so favorite episodes. So I'm gonna lump a few together here. But like you said, celebrity hacks decoded, food evangelism. I would put like winning at weight loss, abs are made in the kitchen.
oh yeah,
Kind of those have a
those are fun.
similar feel to me because we really got to hammer like just the BS in the fitness industry, and we really got to tackle that, which I think is something I'm really passionate about. It's also really fun to do. Like it's fun to we both
Oh
get on our
yeah, to make
soapboxes
fun of it. Yeah.
and just kind of get to say whatever we want. So I really enjoyed all of those because those have like a similar kind of tone and feel to me. Um, I also really liked what was it called? The fear of failure. Um,
Mm, yeah.
just because I think that's such an important concept, how we look at failure and how we address it and how we respond to it. Um, what we identify as failure and what's not. Just because I think so often people respond to quote unquote failure in such an extreme way, that, oh, things went wrong. So I guess I should just give everything up. And that seems like an extreme thing to say, but that is so common. And if you're listening to this, you've probably been there, like we throw our hands up so easy because we expect perfection.
Hmm.
And I just love the idea of embracing quote unquote failure as part of the process. It's not something to avoid completely because you're not going to. It's just it's not fun, but it's going to happen. And so you may as well just like take it as part of the process. I really like that episode a lot. And what was let's see, what would be my third one? I really liked our episode with Leslie Walla, interviewing
Oh
her.
yeah,
Yeah,
so
she's a
good.
client we both worked with. Just she is one of the most genuine, authentic people, and she just, I mean, exactly where you stand with her and exactly how she feels. I love just
Mhm.
how blunt and honest she is about
That was
stuff.
episode 26, by the way,
Yeah,
with
and just
Leslie.
just her, dealing with addiction and multiple attempts at weight loss and just overcoming a lot. It's I think she's just a very inspiring person. And she has a very fascinating
Mhm.
story. That was a lot of fun. Plus, she's a wonderful person. She's just a lot of fun, and a big fan of The
Mhm.
Office. So yeah, there you go.
I know, she
Yeah,
fits. She's
she
part of the
fits.
family. So do you have a question for me,
I
or do you want me to keep going?
sure do.
Okay.
What has, either through our conversations or guests or just like the details of making it happen, what has Middleish taught you over the last
Oh,
year?
that's one of my questions too.
I
So
said it first.
see, this was what's one thing you've learned through recording Middleish, either
Mm,
about me, about any of our topics, or from clients' responses to. So yeah,
cool.
very good. Oh, things I've learned or what it has taught me. I've always been aware of the words I use and how I phrase things, but I really think talking about these topics, which inevitably end up hitting nerves with people, regardless of where you stand on them or where you're at in your own health and fitness journey. We talk about some things that could be kind of triggering or um, frustrating. And I always try to be aware of how to word things in a way that is inclusive
Yeah.
and um, fairly neutral in terms of, I mean, in terms of our listeners. I'm not neutral
Yes.
about celebrities and food evangelists and those people, but being very careful about if somebody, is listening to this, which I know that we have listeners,
Mhm.
how is my message being received, and
Right.
how do I make sure that of course you're never going to say everything perfectly, and you're never going to get complete thoughts out when we have you know an hour ish each week to go through these things, but it's made me even more aware of how words have an impact, and how our messages that we're sharing with the world, I mean, it's available to the world, but we only have like a
Right.
fraction
Right.
of the world listening to us. But it reminds me of the Four Agreements. I don't know if you've ever read that book,
Hmm.
The Four Agreements. Be impeccable with your word.
Hmm.
And that is probably, I don't know that this necessarily taught me this, but I have definitely focused more and embraced that philosophy through
Yeah.
Middleish.
Yeah. For me, a little bit similar. I feel like one of the biggest things I've learned and gained and developed is just my ability to communicate, you know, um, to present ideas in simpler and but maybe more profound ways, more impactful ways. And I feel like the more, we talk and we have these conversations and talk about concepts and ideas and approaches and strategies, all that kind of stuff. Like I find myself finding more simple ways to say them that seem to hit in more powerful ways, and I think a lot of times there is that or there is that like there's that power in simplicity, and just kind of reducing to what really needs to be said. And I feel like I've become a better communicator. I feel like a lot of that is just talking a lot. The more you do something, the better you get at it. But also just between you and I, like off camera, you know what I mean? Like behind the
Mm-hmm.
scenes type stuff about, because it's a weird way to do this. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm in Texas, Aaron's in Idaho.
Right.
Like everything's digital, like we're never in the same room together. And so there is, a lot of, we really do rely on good communication with each other around things and on
Mm-hmm.
what needs to be done. And um, that's probably one of the biggest things is just that I feel like I've really learned how to communicate better and more efficiently and that kind of thing.
I also, on that topic, I think it's really nice as we both own our own businesses and work independently. I'm just stepping away from working in an environment with a team of people and working as a contractor within, a group of people. And so it's
Mhm.
not like I haven't, had to work with people before, but I think it's important to have some kind of teamwork component whenever you have a job such as ours, where like you said, communication is really important.
Mhm.
Being able to collaborate with people and listen well and build ideas with each other and create and be open. I think it's a really good exercise for both of us to have that component, because if not for Middleish,
Yeah.
how would we really, I mean, we would get that through working with our clients, but it's very
It's
different
different.
when you are
Yep.
working alongside a work colleague.
Mhm.
Who are equals. Like there is no hierarchy. It's a
Right.
partnership. And, it really does kind of force you into that space of,
Yeah.
sometimes compromise, sometimes asking for help, sometimes relying on the other person or trusting the other person to just do their part.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's a lot of that. So I think the
Yeah.
teamwork aspect has been really valuable.
Yeah. That's one of my favorite things about this, because I love my job. I love the way I get to do it, all that kind of stuff. But man, I miss coworkers. And so to
I know.
have a coworker,
Yeah.
it's really nice.
Yeah.
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 Back real quick to favorite episodes, moments. One of mine that I forgot was, I can't remember what episode this was on, and I think we talked about it on one of the episodes. But in the middle of one of the episodes, I think you were talking, and from off in the distance upstairs comes
Oh, Sophie.
little Sophie's voice, "Mommy, I went poop," and it
It was a
made it
recent episode too.
like
Yeah.
within the last month or so, maybe two. Yeah. And you can hear it. It's quiet, but it's on the episode, and it makes me so happy.
This is so funny because I was going to ask you what's your favorite Middleish quote of 2020, and that might be it.
That
But
might be it. Mommy, I went
I
poop. Hey,
I had a
there's our
couple.
logo. There's our quote for our coffee mugs. Mommy, I went poop.
Mommy, I went
Yeah.
poop. There you go. That'd be look awesome sitting on someone's desk.
It would. Moms would probably love it.
Yeah.
They get it. Like, yep.
Yeah. I've heard that.
How about you?
My favorite quote, I was going to say the celebrity hacks one where you said, if there was a mountain of bullshit, goop would be the cherry on top
Cherry
or
on
something
top.
like that. And then I just listened to one this morning though that I think topped it in the food and fitness evangelism episode 27. I was talking about how when people get on their high horse about certain foods and diet
Mhm.
practices, it's very classist and elitist, and it's really frustrating for me. I have a personal connection to that,
Mhm.
helping people who are in poverty and low
Right.
socioeconomic status. And so it's really, I was kind of ranting about it. And you said, yeah, it's a real dick way to be. And that was after me going off for like 3 minutes straight on very, I think, pretty eloquently like talking about this issue. And you're like, yeah, it's a dick way to be. And I'm like, see, you just how concisely you wrapped it up and put a bow on it. So that was a good one too.
Okay, so how
Um,
about this? Where do
okay.
you see Middleish going in the next year? So a year from now, where do you see it, or where do you want it to go?
Well, I would love to say going global, but we
Mhm.
already are there because
We're
we have
global.
listeners
Yeah.
in, I think I looked this morning, we have listeners in 28 countries, which is
Yeah.
just insane.
That's really cool,
Um,
actually.
it might be one listener per country for like
It
20 of them,
counts.
but
It
whatever.
counts. We don't need to get into details.
Where do I see it? Um, well, we talk a lot about this, but I do think I would like some merch. I would like to um, find creative ways to engage our listeners more frequently, because we get comments and we get messages and emails and different things, but I want more. Like I want more engagement from listeners.
Mhm.
I would love to have like listener stories, like have somebody come on and we can interview them and tell your story. And I would love to turn this into we could go do some speaking gigs together. Um, just to help people bring a little Middleish into their lives and talk about our philosophy. And
Yeah.
um those are some of the things I see, and obviously continuing doing this, I don't see it ending
Right.
anytime soon.
No, I don't think so.
It wasn't
No.
a pandemic project like
No.
sourdough bread. Still going.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I just, for me, I mean, I want to see our viewership grow, just because I think we're saying important things that people need to hear. You know, I think we are. I think the things we're saying are a much needed voice. I would like to get some, some more really kind of cool, influential guests. Um,
Who would be a dream guest for you?
I have that.
Oh, he's showing me
Can
his
you see it?
paper. Yes. And I have that for you. See, this
Dream
is how in
guest.
sync we are.
Dream
We have the
guest.
same question. What's
Okay,
a dream
so
guest for you?
um, I would love to have Dr. John Berardi on,
Mm.
who founded Precision Nutrition. I'd love to have him on. I would love to have Molly Galbraith on, who started with a few other people, a Girls Gone Strong, which I think is just such a fantastic,
Mm.
important movement in the industry. Those are two that popped into my head kind of off the top. Um, yeah, I'd love to have both of them on. How about you?
Well, my dream guest, I still haven't found out who this is, but I know there's somebody out there that taught, and I don't know how many episodes I've said this, but I really want somebody that talks about the science of humor
Mhm.
and who actually is funny to listen to as well. Like I would love to just laugh my ass off and listen to a scientist talk about humor and why it's so important for us.
Right?
And here's what happens in your brain and here's what happens for your health and here's why different types of humor are funny. And I would love that. I would love
Mhm.
an episode like that. The closest I've come is listening to an episode where I think Alan Alda and Brene Brown were talking a little bit about improv and humor and how some of that, um, how people learn to be kind of comedic in their,
Mhm.
um, in their jobs.
Oh,
So
Glennon
yeah.
Doyle. Glennon Doyle would
Oh,
be awesome.
oh my gosh, her
Can you
book
imagine?
Untamed is amazing,
She's
amazing,
awesome.
and she's very good at that pointed, um, no nonsense, just like
Yeah,
this is the
cuts right
message.
to it.
Period. Yeah,
Yep.
she's
Yeah,
great.
there's no fluff.
There's so many like athletes that I can think of that I would love to interview too. That I can't like list them all. I can't even think of
Yeah.
like a single one out of my head, but
Yeah.
yeah, maybe we should start putting a list together and just start emailing people. I would really love to have Brad Stuhlberg on
Mm.
here, and I haven't reached out to him. I'm sure that he and Steve Magnus, they've written books together. They're amazing on Twitter. They have a great newsletter and blog called The Growth Equation, and I think that's their podcast as well.
Mhm.
I would really like to have them on.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So where else I see it going, like you said, I would love for this. I would love to expand the umbrella of Middleish a little bit into like speaking engagements. I think that would be
mhm,
so stinking fun. And
mhm.
so, in the most selfish of ways, if you're listening and you have a company or something that you want to, offer some things to your employees, shoot us a message, shoot us an
Yeah.
email. Let's talk. It'd be a lot of fun.
Mhm.
I also could see us developing some coursework. Um,
Yeah.
for people, I think there are some things like that we could do that'd be a lot of fun. And of course, merchandise. That would be super
Cool.
fun. Have some
Well, so
stickers and
that
coffee
leads,
cups and
yeah, that leads me to my next very important question.
okay.
Would you wear tidy tealies?
Yeah.
You hesitated big time.
Well, no, I was thinking
What the
like
hey?
would I have to prove that I'm wearing them? Would it have to be like on camera
Well,
from it? Would I have
no,
to do a little jig in them or anything?
but check this out.
What? Okay,
I
if you're
designed
listening,
I
if you're
designed
only
some.
listening right now, you need to stop and go to YouTube and pick up in the same spot and look at what I'm looking at because I would 100% wear those without question.
They're pretty bitchin', right? Well, so the funny thing is,
Those are
I
amazing.
mean, I know they're good, right?
So they're like boxer briefs that are very teal, and right across the crotch is a big white patch with the Middleish logo. Those are amazing.
So I threw those together literally in 5 minutes. I just started Googling companies like, how can you make custom underwear? And I came across this one and I'm like, well, that would be perfect. Those work. So they're a little expensive. So I'd like to find, I mean, currently with our current budget, we could maybe afford like 4 pairs.
4 pairs.
So so 4 of you lucky listeners could win this contest and get a pair of tidy tealies.
That's amazing.
We'll come up with a contest for you.
Right. That's awesome. I like.
How
those
about
a whole lot.
the first 4 people to go on YouTube and check this out and share the episode and tag us. You have to tag us, share it on Facebook or Instagram. You get tidy tealies. There's 4. We can afford 4 pairs right now. And then we'll have to save up for some stickers later, which we'll take care of.
Guys, this is going to be a mad rush to YouTube because these are really something special. I'm going to be honest.
They're bitching. I'm pretty happy with them.
If anything's ever been bitching, it's these. Yeah. Yeah. So anything else?
I have my final question. My final question for you.
Okay.
What is something you want our listeners to know about you?
Oh. Oh my gosh, that's a hard question, Erin. What do I want them to know?
That you're afraid of
about
spiders? Me? They know that now.
I don't know that I'm maybe afraid's the right word. Like I don't freak out about them. I just want them gone as soon as possible. And I don't know if you notice this, but I keep looking down just at the floor like,
oh yeah.
Do I see any movement?
It's the way I always look at the corners, the upper corners of a room when I walk in. I can't help it, but
man, what do I want them to know about me? Jeez, Erin, that's a hard question. Do you have an answer?
Well, I can go first because I think I actually got this comment last week when I met with a local colleague of mine about engaging in this high performance sports nutrition project. And I told him about our podcast and he's like, wow, he's a physician in town, sports med physician. And he's like, I'm really fascinated by that because having a Middleish and a moderation concept when you are the athlete you are and you engage in those kinds of endeavors, it seems like a dichotomy, like I'm, have these 2 different lives. And I really think that the concept of balance and moderation, which we could get into the weeds on that one because I really don't think there's any way to truly be balanced when you are like super focused on one aspect of your life. But I think it makes me a better athlete and it sets me up better to pursue those high level endeavors, whatever they are, whether it's pro racing, whether it's these like crazy long rides or, adventures that we do, whether it's starting up and running my own business. I don't ever want people to look at some of those aspects about me and think that like I operate in these 2 different realms or these 2 different lives. Like it very much is one and the same. And I very much embrace this concept of showing myself grace and not aiming for perfection. And I mean, these are daily reminders that I have to work through. And so it's not like it's just super easy and I have it all figured out, but it really has become my, I take a lot of solace in some of the topics that we talk about and how this whole concept of moderation has helped me in a number of aspects of my life. Because I have that tendency to go into, I wouldn't say like extremes necessarily. I mean, by some people's standards, sure, I'm sure they are, but more like that hyper focus and that perfectionism kind of drive that I have. So yeah. So I use this kind of concept all the time and I'm constantly reminding myself to find that center a little bit more.
Yeah, that's good. I like that. So for me, I guess I would say this is really not thought out. So here we go. That anything, anything I say on here, um, I feel like I don't know if anyone can be truly agendaless. I don't know if that's possible, but I feel like I'm as close as you can get. I don't have an agenda. I don't have anything that I want to push on people other than what is best for them, and that I truly believe in this middleish approach and concept. And I truly believe that moderation tailored to the individual, which looks like a million different things, right? That depends on who you are and what's going on, but is the healthiest way to live your life. And in a way that I really believe in all of these things that we talk about, as far as um, bending and flexing your goals when life gets stressful or when life gets easier, pushing for consistency over intensity, really showing ourselves grace, improving, your relationship with food, and that the things that we talk about, the only reason we're talking about them, the only reason I'm talking about them is because I really believe in these ideas and that they are the healthiest way forward for people. What that looks like can vary wildly, I think, but that these concepts are just that's the reason I wanted to do this podcast with Aaron. That's the reason that this was even a thing in the beginning, is because I feel like there's so much out there that beats down and holds people captive and fuels shame and guilt and these false beliefs that you're not cut out to be a healthier person. You just don't have what it takes. I feel like that's everywhere, and these concepts are just critical to combat that and to really help people live freer lives. To develop control within themselves. Over cravings and understanding. Just what their body needs, what it means to take care of themselves, to have that sort of that control piece, but also this freedom to live life in rich, full, exciting ways, and not to feel like you have to cut out things you love, whether it's experiences or food or whatever, to enjoy any kind of health. So I don't know if that made sense, but that's my thing.
I think so. You don't
Okay.
have an agenda. You just want to help people.
Yeah. Maybe that's my agenda.
Your agenda is to help people.
Yeah.
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 One and the same.
Yeah. All right.
Meaning in the mundane.
A mean in the mundane. Yay for a year.
I know.
Honestly, are you gonna go? Go ahead.
Sure.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So this weekend, Matt was out of town and visiting some
Mhm.
friends of his, lifelong friends. We decided that was the proper term when you have literally grown up with people, because I have some of those lifelong friends as well. And so I was home alone, and
Mhm.
I, had a long bike ride with friends. I kind of hung out at the house with the cat and did my thing. And there was a time in my life right after I had a broken engagement when I was in college, and it was with like this codependent relationship. So it was really, really hard for me to be alone. And I remember times when I would have nearly anxiety attacks just at the thought of being home alone. And it really was because I thought it was not my choice to be alone. Like nobody wants to be with me and nobody cares. And, and so like your brain
Yeah.
kind of plays this really jacked up game with telling yourself this story. And so it was really important work for me to intentionally choose alone time and to build that into my life. And I just had a moment of reflection on that this weekend, how I not only enjoy my alone time, but I crave it sometimes. And
Mhm.
I have just really appreciated what it feels like to be alone and to just by choice, like it's
Mhm.
not because nobody wants to be here and hang out with me. It's really just my own time
Yeah.
and being with myself and doing my own things. So that was mine. I had a weekend just
Nice.
by myself. It was great.
Alone time is the best. Like when you really
Yeah.
need it and you
Yeah.
get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. Yep.
Hmm.
Yep. For me, I would say I think this was just Monday, just a couple days ago. I had just a routine check in with a client. Someone I just had kind of recently started working with, like, I don't know, a month or so ago, and just a very routine thing, just calling to check in, and there was just so much to celebrate in it. There was, let's see, how would I say this? She found herself sort of not mindlessly, but sort of just falling into these places of being mindful about, uh, what she was eating, paying attention to her body, making conscious choices around quote unquote bad foods, like ice cream, family going out for ice cream, and just taking a minute to go, do I want this? Because my fallback is just, well, yeah, we're getting ice cream, so I'll get ice cream. And just to
Right.
pause for a moment and check in with yourself and go like, do I even want this right now? Or am I
Mm-hmm.
just doing this? And it was just all of these little things like, oh, let me listen to my body. Let me check in with myself, and if I'm even hungry. Let me see if, like, are my emotions driving this right now? Or, just all of these little things that are really huge things, that it was just like this whole week of just like little thing, little thing, little thing, little thing, little thing, that just added up to, like, I was just like so excited. I
Yeah.
was like,
Yeah.
this week has been amazing. Like, there's so much to celebrate in this week, right? Because, like, just conscious choices. I think when I'm sure they're the same way, but when you find clients just making these like small little choices to really truly take care of themselves in a whole picture kind of way, right? Not just like, oh, to lose weight, or I chose the thing with fewer calories, but just like, where am I at right now? And what is a good choice for me, not just physically, but emotionally and mentally and long term. And it was just a conversation like I have,
Mm-hmm.
100 times a week, that was just full of all of this, like, yeah, I chose what's
Yeah.
best for me. I chose what's best for me. I
Awareness.
chose what's best for
Mm-hmm.
me. Yeah. In a whole picture kind of health way. And it was just, I just
Awesome.
got off that phone. I was just like super
I
jacked up and
know.
excited.
Those moments are
Mhm.
amazing.
Yep. Yeah.
So fun.
Yeah.
Keep up the good work, partner.
Hey, thanks.
Yeah.
1 year
Well,
down.
happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary. Yeah.
Cheers to you.
Yep. 1 year
And
down and several to
thank you
come.
to all of our listeners who make this possible. And
Hmm.
we look forward to bringing you more Middleish in the next year
And the year after that, year after that.
and the year after that and
Yeah.
the year after that.
We don't have plans to go anywhere. So,
And I am serious. The first four people to share this episode, tag us and let us know, and you'll get a pair of tidy tealies. We'll hook you up.
ooh, some Middleish underwear. My goodness gracious.
All right.
All right.
Thanks,
Well, thank you,
everyone.
everybody, for the last year. We appreciate it.